Hello and welcome to another episode of the Thefanpubcast. It's Al back with Sean.
It's
right,
good
Sean?
to be back. It's taken a little time to get this set up, hasn't it, Al, tonight? It's been
It
interesting.
is, and you know...
We're going to blame our sound engineer for the problem. Hey, look, we're working off two mics.
I know, two mics. We're hoping the sound will be right, but, you know, we're trying our best. Okay, Sean's just been telling me about his career as a disc jockey in the past. He used to have a lot of Rick Astley, apparently.
It's a long story. We'll save that for another video.
I don't know why he's not one anymore with that sort of...
It didn't last long. It wasn't a particularly long career. I would say 3 months max, and it was during a golden summer period that all went wrong. Went south quick.
Anyway, thanks very much for joining us. This is part 2. Today we're going to be talking about the AFC South and the AFC West. So,
yeah, looking forward to this.
Let's start with the Houston Texans. So we're talking about the changes that have been made sort of in the off season and what we see, you know, who the players to look out for and what changes and the fantasy implications of that, really. Okay, so, well, DeAndre Hopkins, obviously...
proved how elite he is last year. He is, without a doubt, right up there in the conversation of the best wide receivers in the league. And if you are in a situation where you've kind of gone through the top tier running backs in any format, his name's going to come straight into the frame at that point, isn't it? Along with Antonio Brown, depending on format, and OBJ. And he arguably is number 1 or number 2 at the worst case scenario. But they're in almost a tier of their own, those three guys.
Okay, so I think everyone knows about DeAndre Hopkins. So
yeah, we were very high on him last year, and a few people doubted him. You remember he was falling into the second round last year.
I think he was on your players to target, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. He was a good one to get. But again, like a lot of things, and we'll probably talk about this in another video, it's how do you get players you really want? There's a great question that came out, and that is hard. It is one of the hard things, and that's what looking at depth charts, doing the mocks and everything is all about. Well, we will go into that.
Okay, so let's look at their number 2 wide receiver, Will Fuller.
Came on strong, didn't he, last year?
So where would you sort of rank him?
Well, it's difficult because what you have to consider with Will Fuller is you have to make an argument both ways. Whether you think Deshaun Watson is changing the NFL, do you think that small sample size we saw was enough to herald him as the next great quarterback coming into the league? It was an amazing run of games that he was in.
I think
he scored 19 touchdowns in that run, which has put him on pace for over 40 for the season.
I think every time you have a small sample size, you can't say for definite either way, can you? Because we just don't know if that's going to continue. I mean, I know everybody in our group, you know, on the Fanpub, on the Discord site, everyone loves him, don't they?
Yeah, I'm really high on him as well for this year. It's so difficult to not be. I mean, look, you know, if you're it's kind of this simple camp of either you have a quarterback early, very early, a really great one, or you go later. And that's the only thing I can say about fantasy in terms of, you know, putting a stamp on what I believe. And if I'm being honest, as much as early indoors you're very excited about him coming back, can I recommend that we go in that early to get Deshaun Watson just based on that sample? I can't recommend that. I just think that's a little bit potty. It depends where he falls, doesn't it? In what size? I am very excited to see him come back. And I'm very excited to see what he does because he is definitely interesting. And I mean, he said this week he ain't scaling back the rushing work. So that's that is quite interesting.
Obviously, it puts him more at risk for injury. But
well, I think fantasy-wise, it puts him skyrocket high, but the risks are likely to be there too, and that I always worry. And I don't think he protects himself. It's a bit gay abandon, you know. He reminds me like the only analogy I have history-wise is it's like Cavalier. It's such a Cavalier attitude to have, and it is great because he plays without fear. But I would really worry about the injury. It may be fine for a redraft for a year, but you've got to be a bit sceptical.
His ADP's 55,
which is very high.
So we're talking round 5 in
That's
12 team.
Very, very high. Because if I'm being honest, the only quarterback I would ever really recommend anybody reach for is obviously that he's on the table, Aaron Rodgers, because you know, if you say every year 35 plus touchdowns, 4,000 yards, that is not ridiculous. I mean, look at where he's finished: 1st, 3rd, 5th. I mean,
he was injured last year though.
He was, but he's still up there, isn't he? I mean, he's still up there.
I don't think anyone
would you?
No, definitely not.
And you don't blame people if they go in early for him because he's the only one I really trust.
I'm a big fan of Watson as well.
Of course, and so am I. But I just can't find myself quite pulling the trigger this early at the moment. It just seems a bit crazy at the moment.
Okay. I mean, if he fell far enough, I mean, round that mark.
I think round 5 is at the moment, we're talking early round 5 in a large league.
Well, let's look at the players around him, because this is the decision you're going to get in a draft.
It's a great
Jarvis
decision.
Landry.
Yeah, I'm not touching.
He's with Cleveland.
I'm definitely taking Deshaun Watson over him.
Lamar Miller.
100% taking him over him.
You're changing your answer then, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, well, I am at the moment.
Dion Lewis.
My problem is that this might be pushing his ADP up so high I'm never going to draft him.
Dion Lewis.
Yeah, I'm still taking him higher than that.
Exactly. So
And the problem is that
Michael Crabtree.
Yeah, well, and the issue is, I mean, this is the problem. Other people may value him even higher than this, which I would suspect in a lot of leagues will happen, and that's their choice.
And there's a couple
but you miss out on probably running backs or other types of players.
Well, yeah, I mean, but do you mind missing out on Lamar Miller?
I don't mind missing out on him. No.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of rookie running backs here.
Well,
Ronald Jones to second, and Sony Michel.
Yeah,
so.
I would take them over him, and it's purely because running backs have the potential to give me the championship.
He did last year.
Well, I can't get a running back that can get me 180, 200 at that range fantasy points, but I can find a quarterback that could be similar. Even if he's only slightly off the pace, that's the reality.
And that's always the late quarterback argument.
That's the problem. Now, don't get me wrong. Look, if I've got a particular draft, let's say take a scenario. I've got 3 great wide receivers. He's in the 4th round, and I'm thinking I'm going for the moon. Why not? He's a running quarterback. I might as well see Russell Wilson. Why not? You might as well. You count them as one of your rushers, really.
Okay.
I might try that.
Will Fuller, then, we talked about him briefly.
Yeah.
He's ranked at 93 ADP.
He very much came
So
on.
not too early.
No, it's not early at all. It's a good value player. I mean, he came on a lot with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson should be back. There's nothing to say this guy doesn't take another step forward together. Like him a lot. I think the ADP is fantastic value down there. I mean, if you've got a running back heavy, you'd be looking for a Will Fuller, wouldn't you? I mean, he'd be really ideal to target. So I wouldn't have a problem with that.
He's another guy who's missed a few games with injury, but he's had a lot of big games as well.
Has. I mean, he's really exciting from last year. But he obviously, as Deshaun Watson goes, I think Will Fuller goes. I think he wasn't in the calibre, let's say, of the great man DeAndre Hopkins himself, was he? Once Deshaun Watson went down, I think Will Fuller faded away, which is understandable. Whereas, the other chap, you're going to always find chemistry with him because he's always open.
I mean, there is a rookie we like as well, or that I like actually. He was on my list of people to target late in the draw, and that's Kiki Kuti.
Yeah, big fan of him. Yeah.
There's a like list of Tyreek Hill with the speed and everything. Maybe not so much for this year. And I think the key to whether
he... a low dynasty buy for this kind of guy?
Yeah, he might have some value, but he's going to be a wide receiver 3. If Will Fuller goes down, then his value could rise.
Really
Depends how he takes to it. Braxton Miller's been around a bit, hasn't really done it yet.
Not done enough, yeah.
And you just get the feeling.
I would prefer to take a shot on your guy than I would Braxton Miller, quite frankly. If I was looking at a late round flyer, I would take a punt because their offense could be stellar, to be honest. And let's be honest, their defense ain't that either, is it?
And the toughest thing to actually sort out with the Houston Texans, their running game.
Oh,
you tell me who you want here.
Well, listen, the problem is... it's really, this is a nightmare because I do actually have a share of Deontay Foreman in one dynasty league, and that's it's taken a stab at glory. That's what you do, isn't it, with these picks?
I mean, he flashed, didn't he?
He could come back and do absolutely nothing. I mean, that's the reality, and that injury isn't simple. Right, it's just a fact.
It was Achilles, wasn't it?
It's not an easy injury to recover from. Now I know that surgery's come a long way, and techniques get better every year. We say this, but it isn't a good injury for a running back to have, and actually, the recoveries haven't been great for running backs on this injury. So
it can really affect speed. That's
very much so. I mean, I love the opportunity. We're being attacked by flies.
Yeah,
I probably brought that in.
Yeah.
I love the opportunity that he brings to any team, and I do like his ADP is really quite reasonable. So again, he's one of these guys who, I mean, if you're going 0 RB, he's a name that you're going to be looking at to target. I think that's fair to say because you're taking shots at running backs that could have good years, and in that offense, there's no clear cut. I mean, Lamar Miller, he is the one, but you wouldn't be surprised if he was usurped. However, it's
a combination of both.
It's a combination of both. But if he doesn't come back at all, Deontay Foreman, then Lamar Miller has a fantastic opportunity.
And of course, we've got Simon's favourite running back, Alfred Blue.
Yeah, who you never know, could shake out of the tree. Yeah, absolutely.
Alfred Blue, screen of death. Yeah. Why? How does he keep getting a job?
Well, he must say the right things and do the right things in training. And to be honest with you, they must see enough to believe that if they need someone to come in as a change of pace, he can do it. And I suspect he's probably good at blocking because that's another reason.
Have you seen enough to think he can come in and do a job?
I don't like him. I don't think.
I don't like him.
I absolutely don't like him in terms of fantasy. I don't think that there's any relevance there. But I've seen people plug and play that player in the past, and it has worked for them. But it's in a short, very, very short window. It's not something you can rely on, is it, in fantasy?
Okay, we'll briefly talk on the tight ends. Ryan Griffin, Stephen Anderson, Jordan Akins, the rookie.
There's nothing in there that really excites me. So that's.
If you had to pick one.
I really don't know. I mean, I think they all have a chance to shine. But looking at Deshaun Watson's tape, looking at the way that they have manned their offense and the way they operate, I don't see much work in there for any tight end, really. So I think you could have somebody. I mean, look, how hard is that? I mean, there's nothing there that I can really put my finger on and say to someone, I'd like, this is a guy you can take late. I think there are better options out there late. I mean, this would be a real risk. So, I mean, as much as I will leave tight ends till quite late this year, I don't think anybody in there really excites me enough to really worry
Stephen
about.
Anderson would be kind of, didn't
Maybe. But again,
I think
you've got better options no matter what the league size or format.
Okay, so we've got a bit of an enigma now. There's plenty of problems with this. It's the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow, this is a really interesting situation. Well, obviously, I think we should start with luck, shouldn't we? I mean, let's start with the news with him because that's relevant.
Well, he is throwing again.
He's throwing a ball again. Somebody said, rightly so, the other day, said to me, yeah, he's throwing a ball, but it's a smaller ball. Is that important? No, actually, it's not. The difference between weight size on those footballs, it is literally he's throwing a college ball, right? So the weight difference is about a pound, right? That's the reality. So in terms, the guy's been doing it. You can tell he's been doing a lot of off-season work on it over this. When I say off-season,
he's certainly been working out. He looks pretty jacked.
Very
I've
strong.
seen pictures of him.
Yeah, he looks good, and there's a lot. There is zip on that ball. Yeah, they're only 10-yard throws, granted, but if you understand how quarterbacks operate, when you're warming up, you work at the 10-yard range. And you work out from there, and that's the same with any injury. You'll start there. He'll see how his accuracy is. To me, he looked like he's gonna. He will come back. So what will happen is the ADPs for the players around him are naturally going to skyrocket, and that's why this makes this a very interesting team to look at. How good,
so could there be some bargains?
Bargain players right now. So if you've drafted already and snagged a Hilton, a Mac, potentially players like that, you could have a little bit of an uptick. Now in Hilton's case, probably the uptick is not as big, maybe even with luck in, as it could be, but it will still be significant.
Well, Mac's still injured as well, isn't he?
But Mac could be.
So Jordan Wilkins, who's a rookie.
He's getting talked up in camp.
He's working with the first. Well, with the first.
He's getting a lot of talk. I've noticed this on the waiver wires information that's been coming through to me. How much they like him, but again, this is early camp work. Not all the veterans turn up at this point. They don't have to. It's not.
They've got Naheem Hines as well. Who's probably a pass catcher.
He looks interesting.
They've got him all over the field.
Apparently, we have a sneaky suspicion, right? I don't know if you agree with me, but my suspicion is that the way it's shaping up for the Indianapolis Colts, I've got a feeling they might take DeMarco Murray on. I really believe that's a possibility.
I think that as well. Do you know what I mean? Because DeMarco Murray had a chance to go and try out for the Saints, and he didn't, which makes me think he's already got something in the bag.
He's got something in the bag because he's been very, very quiet this offseason.
Why it's taken so long? You can't say it's definitely the Colts, but that seems the best.
It seems logical. I mean, it's a speculation, but I like it because I think it's a good fit. And for 1 year, because it'll be a 1 year deal, it's all great for all parties. And also, as well, if he doesn't really work out, you've got time to bring on Mac, and you've got time for things to shake out.
Yeah, so, Wilkins and Hines.
And he's not like, even if he isn't fantastically well back, he didn't look too good last year with Tennessee, to be honest. But he is a back who can take 3 down work. He can catch. He can block. And to be fair to DeMarco Murray, he can block.
And they're a team.
They need a back that blocks. You can't have a committee here.
No.
You can't have a second and third down like Naeem Hines at 5'9" blocking for what Andrew Luck with a bad shoulder. He needs to. I'm not saying his shoulder.
With no O-line.
I'm not saying his shoulder isn't right because it could be recovered. But the last thing you want to see him is getting shots every single week on that. You don't want that. So it would make perfect sense to me. So. We'll see how it shakes out, but I'm very hopeful for luck. But if I have to temper that a little bit, I think.
How worried every week would you be with the poor O-line? I know they picked up Quinton Nelson.
Very, very worried about it because
about re-injury.
There's 2 things about this which has got to be true, and the first one is he's been out of the game a long time, and right? How often is it a player's out for more than a year and a half? And we've seen it with any player, no matter what age, no matter how professional, no matter how big a career. And then try and come back in and replicate what you did before. It doesn't seem to happen. So, I mean, you've got to temper the early season with luck with, a bit of Teflon and say, well, actually, you know what, this is probably going to be tough for him. This first few weeks, I wouldn't be expecting a lot. Yeah, I think he'll be better than the second tier.
Do you know
but
what I
not
think?
as good as the elite.
Luck
tier.
is the ultimate boom or bust this year.
Very
He'll
much.
either be brilliant because he's
He's
elite.
capable. Oh, he's
elite when he plays.
He's capable.
But
of
there's
top
every
five
chance of
players.
re-injury.
Very, very much so.
So he'll either
look,
he could cost you a season or make it.
The problem now is because he's throwing, his ADP will move up quite dramatically, and where there would have been value, there now isn't. If this news had come through,
No, but I think people will still be wary.
I think they should be rightly wary. If he fell at the right value, absolutely, I would take a chance.
What's the right value then?
What's his current ADP?
Let's have a look.
And let's try and estimate what we think will happen. And normally, what you have to do with
I think he's 100 dead on.
right, that's perfect.
So we're talking
Okay.
Robbie Anderson, Sterling
So
Shepherd.
in the large leagues, we'll start with that. So in a small league, 10 team, that's 10 rounds. That looks pretty good value there. When you go into the 12-man
They've
teams,
been around
you're looking
9 in the
about-
12 team.
Yeah, you're looking about 9, nearly 8. And then you go into the 14 and 16 range, and you're looking about 7, 8. That's just too high. I mean, 8, 9 or 8.
Is it though? Because he's a difference. He's around 4 or 5 player if he's the proper Andrew Luck.
And we haven't seen it. And it's like anything, you have to put a red flag around a player coming back from an injury. You just have to put a bit of a marker. I mean, yeah, if I had to be honest, he's not. Look, he'll have rust the first few weeks. That's all I'm going to say. If everything goes well and all the surgeries work really well, then he is inevitably an elite quarterback who will shine. But that O-line hasn't really been addressed to any
Well, they did get
satisfactory-
Quinton Nelson.
to
So.
any satisfactory condition that I'd be happy with.
I mean, he's probably the elite left guard from this class, or that's the way it looks at the moment. So,
Yeah, but
okay. Well, they've got T.Y. Hilton. So
if
if Luck's back, T.Y. Hilton's probably going too low.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it was going too low anyway, and that will mean a big jump for him. So he will move up the board. The big question mark will be running back.
Well, who would you see as their wide receiver too? So you've got Chester Rogers.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying it's him.
Yeah.
But you can get him anytime you like.
You can, yeah.
They've got Ryan Grant. They've got 2 rookies in Dion Kane, who could be a player, and Doris Fountain.
If I had to pick one out now, I'd take Dion Kane, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that he has something special, some special qualities about him. I think even in training camp, they noticed that he's starting to show up and make some plays. And I think if the chemistry's there with Luck, I think this is a player that could shake out as the wide receiver too. I think he can get Kane very, very late. And I think that's a very attractive player because
he was on a rookie flyer list again.
Yeah, he's a stash player. You would stick him as a stash no matter what you've got, whether you've gone wide receiver heavy or whether you've gone running back heavy, because he's the kind of guy that could end up as a wide receiver too, and potentially as Andrew Luck starts to find form, it'd be very, very good value. And
you wouldn't think it'd take too much to beat out Chester Rogers.
Not a lot.
Maybe that's unfair. I don't know.
No, it is fair. It is fair. That's why you draft these players, because you're looking at improving what you already have. That's it's business. At the end of the day, it's business. It's a team, and any player knows that you're only one thing away from the next guy coming in actually better than you, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Well, these 2 players say that: Robert Turbin and Christian Michael.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Right, tight end's also actually quite interesting.
It is very interesting. Yeah.
Because obviously they had Jack Doyle last year. He actually caught a lot of passes, although different quarterback, so he was a safety net.
Did a good job.
But they've actually brought in Eric Ebron as well,
Yeah.
who always seems to be called upon to have a breakout year.
It's very interesting, this, because on the one hand, I thought Jack Doyle, with Luck, assuming Luck came back and it looks like he will, then I would have given a big tick to Jack Doyle and thought, oh yeah, what people were saying about how good he could be for this year, maybe he takes a big step forward. But now you've brought in Eric Ebron, you're like, oh, come on, muddy the waters here.
Yeah, which one is it?
Whoever want to muddy the water with tight ends. I mean,
Ebron's going at 147 ADP.
Yeah, that's very cheap, really, for what he is. It's a tight end. Yeah.
And Doyle's going 117. So ADP has Doyle a little bit ahead, but
again, depending on size of league, I think there are tight ends that you can get. That there's a few tight ends I like. But I think Jack Doyle would be the one. If I was taking one or the other, I'd go Jack Doyle. I'd go with the younger man in this situation. I think Eric Ebron, I think it's a bit brittle for my liking. I know he has been around the league a number of years. He's solid. He's a safe pair of hands. I understand all that, but I would probably take a shot with the young guy to take another leap forward if Luck's back. And I actually think that would be quite interesting. But there is a big caveat with this, because this is why I think they brought Eric Ebron in. And I don't think Jack Doyle blocks well, and that's the problem. And that's what they're doing here with all these moves you're seeing. This is how do we protect him?
it's another way of improving the airline as well.
It is. Put a tight end in who's got some savvy, and he's a very savvy tight end who knows how. You don't have to be the best blocker. You just got to get in the way. That's what we used to always say. All I want you to do is give me a yard. That's it. You know, if you can, you might be outclassed by 3 sizes, but if you can just make sure you're in the right spot to stop that guy coming straight at you, that's all I need. And I think he's very clever. He's a good tight. He uses his lower body stroke really well. He's got good leverage, and he always seems to be in the right place to block in. And he's going to need that luck. So that could be the big problem with Jack Dore. So his ADP might be surprisingly, may seem really cheap and good value, but it might not shake out that way at all.
Yeah, and he's definitely got competition now.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, let's move on to Jacksonville.
Yeah, interesting team this. Or Saxonville, as we should really call it.
Yeah, I mean,
the great defense.
The good thing about their defense was immense last year.
And it will continue to be immense this year. I mean, we should
because
give special
they haven't lost anybody from it, have they?
I need to give special mention on this, right? So, last year, their defense, we suspected that it would take a step forward. It didn't take a step forward, it took 10 steps forward last year. And all the pieces fell into place. And you are seeing a defence flying to the ball. The kind of defences that win championships, that's a fact. So the defence is there. And if you look at the fantasy numbers in any format last year, unless it was an extremely odd one, they were the defence to own by a mile, by a long way. And no matter what anybody says this year, and no matter how they say, "Well, leave defences to the last few picks," no, you don't. If you've got Jacksonville out there, I don't blame you for going in. Now you'll have to make a conscious decision. And when we'll talk about this in a bit of detail when we come to the point of some
not
video.
too early though.
Well, hold fire, right? Last year, depending on the league format, even in standard, I believe they scored 170. That is worth going for at any point after round 5 or 6.
It's never that clear cut, is it?
No, it isn't. Defenses do change every year, but this is a defense. You know,
that
often defenses a good one. I mean, not a flash in the pan. I understand, but they've been putting these pieces together for a couple of years, and they looked good last year. The year before, and now they've really taken a step forward. And I've got to be honest, I would reach for them, and I'm going to make that clear because if you're in a league format, you don't wait on a defence like this. That's crazy talk because you're getting a 170-point defence that can outclass another defence by 70 to 80. But this is how championships are won. You take the best pieces. You make a conscious decision when you believe that is, and you go after it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And maybe somebody who waited late picks up a great defence for later. But there is a case for striking first rather than last. And that is one defence I would reach. There aren't many. Every year you have to judge it.
What sort of, when you say you'll reach, what sort of pick are we talking?
In a 16-man defence, you're going to have to go, in a 16-man league, you're going to have to go in by round 6 or 7. And I warn all drafters for that because they ain't going cheap. Now, I have strategies. So I'm saying this openly because I naturally expect them to go early, right? Even in our league format. So what I'll do is have my strategies for my other defences that I believe are going to take steps forward for this year.
They're going ADP 131.
Yeah, it's just.
So you're talking about 10th round in a 12 team.
Yeah, and I'm just not a fan of that kind of drafting process. I understand defences change, but good ones hang around for a few years and they've lost nothing.
So you'd already have most of your team and a bit of bench there already. So.
And that's when you strike. You strike when you got something. You put the nucleus of your team together and you go in and get them. You got to, haven't you? If you want the best, you've got to go in and get it. It ain't going to be there when you turn the corner.
You've just got to judge when the right time is.
You've got to judge it. If you get it wrong, you'll miss out on a better player.
So say if Jacksonville are gone.
Yeah. You wait.
Yeah.
You wait. And you don't hesitate. You wait, and you wait until because you've got to have some. I think there are 4 or 5 other defenses I really like for this year. That's based on schedule.
Your defense.
My defense, the Rams. Yeah, my Rams.
That has improved a lot.
That's a defense I would. They're close to the. You know, I just don't trust them quite enough. I have to say this to the Rams fan because we've been through a lot of pain. I love what I'm seeing. The coach was exactly what I hoped for. He's turned the corner for them. The team believe in him. They've gone all in. And the defence is ready now, along with the offence, to do quite a lot of damage for this year. And I'm excited to see what the Rams do every week because I believe we can control the clock both ways, so that's going to be exciting. But with that defence, yeah, you might have to judge near the end of the draft when you strike, but you may not have to go in as hard and still get a very high caliber defence. And these are the conundrums that
I like the pieces you've added to yours.
Yeah,
put it that way.
Yeah,
they'd definitely be.
But Jacksonville, we should start with the defence because it is that exciting.
Okay, all right, let's move on to another exciting player, Blake Bortles.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people like him, but you know, I've never been.
Do they? I don't think they do.
I've not been.
Who likes him?
I think it's interesting is last year he was put under a lot of pressure, and I think he did okay. I mean, this is a player you can get late in drafts. I'm not saying he's your number 1 quarterback. I'm not saying that at all. Far from it. but he's a good second.
He's almost a bit of a laughing stock in some ways, and probably unfairly so.
Yeah, but think of it this way, right? So if you've got Jacksonville defense, and they will score touchdowns, but they're also going to give you short fields as well to work with. What's not to like about having a quarterback that you might be your second that you can get for game matchup situations where Jacksonville get a good matchup and you think, actually, this could be a really big score for them this week. I'll take a flyer here. And it did work out a bit last year when people were slotting in balls towards the end of the year.
I'm saying this from memory, but I'm pretty sure the last 3 years he was 17th last year, or 15th to 17th, something like that. He was 4 the year before and 9 the year before.
So it's boom or bust, isn't it?
He's been in the top 17, the worst, and the other one was a top 5 finish, and the other one was a top 10 finish.
Yeah,
and you're getting him like really any price you like.
Any shot, and I don't think that's bad, is it? I mean, if you have 2 quarterbacks, let's say you've got.
But would you be happy about drafting him still?
Well, I might be, depending on the quarterback I've got ahead of him. I'll give you an example. This year, when we get to the team, we'll talk about it. You know how high I am on Patrick Mahomes, but even for this year, where a lot of people aren't as high. I'd love to have a Blake Bortles with a Patrick Mahomes, because at least then I feel I've covered my bases. Like, if it doesn't work out, I can bring Blake in and do a serviceable job for me. I haven't lost too many fantasy points. Occasionally, I might actually look quite good. But if I'm right, I go both ways, and that's what you have to kind of do.
Right. Okay. So obviously the backfield, you got Fournette. What's your feelings on him for this year? More the same.
Well, my concern is the same concern I had with you as the year progressed last year, and it's the concern that lingers over for this year. I love the player. I like the toughness of him, and I like the fact that he really is a 3-down back. He's going unappreciated, actually, a bit later in most drafts. His ADP is a little harsh, I think, for a player that's did well. I mean,
he's not
bad, but it's not ideally great.
Where should he be then? He's a 13 at the moment.
Well, I think that's a little. I mean, it's a player who put up some decent numbers from last year.
Would you draft him before Julio Jones?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
And they're 2 going above him.
Yeah, I would. But the problem I have.
Alvin Cook.
Yeah, I would. Yeah. Because he's more proven. But the problem comes here. So if I'm going to be honest, I have to. This is what I'm trying to do this year.
I hope you're being honest.
Just get things out in the open really quick, because it's so important to put your marking down on players. He's a player to avoid. Now, I've said all that, and I'm saying avoid him because I don't trust the ankle. I think there's better value looking at who's going to be his deputy. I don't think I have to go in with a high pick. I'm leaving someone else to take him.
Yeah, but you can negate that to a certain extent by picking up Yeldon late in the draft. He doesn't go high, and he performs pretty well when he steps in for Fournette.
It's never that simple. We know that it's never that simple depending on league size to get the backup.
There's no Chris Ivory anymore.
Yeah, it's never that simple to get the backup. So I don't think it's as easy as mitigating, because I don't think it's that easy to say that Yeldon's going to come in and do the same job. I don't really think we've seen a big enough work size to agree that could possibly work. It might, but I wouldn't bank on it. But my concern mostly with him is this. If you're talking redraft, I can live with that risk, because it's one season, the ankle held up, he had a couple of games where he struggled a bit and he missed a bit of time. I can live with that risk. But what I can't live with is long-term risk, and in Dynasty I really, really swerve. I've sold off and avoided buying.
I bought him.
I know you did, yeah. But I get that and I understand that. But I'm being honest.
But I've got Yeldon, so I'm quite comfortable.
You've mitigated what you believe could be the only risk while he's recovering from injury. That is fine.
Well, they're a run-heavy team, so that's why I like
because defence and running back control clock.
No, you said lots of short fields, again, lots of touchdowns.
And I do like him. Redraft, I do like him, but in that format, I would take him. If he was there at 13, I think that's a steal. Yeah, he won't be. But if he was, I'll definitely take him.
Okay, well,
but only in that format.
I think we've covered Fournette. Obviously, Corey Grant's the only other one there. He's had some nice plays, but maybe he'll get a bit more involved.
A bit underappreciated, good player, just never quite has the opportunity to show us what he can really do. So we're probably still not going to see that, I'm afraid.
I was there when he did they did a fake field goal, I think it was, in London, and he ran the length of the field. Brilliant to watch. Yeah. I mean, the Ravens were terrible, but we'll... Right, the receiving core.
Yeah, very intriguing.
Yeah, they got obviously Marcus Lee. They got just signed Dante Moncrief, who was a good player for the Colts. Can't really be blamed for the down season last year.
No, there's
it's not like he was dropping passes.
Quite a bit to pick through here, isn't it?
You've also got Dede Westbrook, an exciting young guy. You've got Keelan Cole, exciting young guy. DJ Chark is the rookie guy. could be quite exciting. Rashard Green, he's showing flashes.
Well, not all of these guys are going to make the 53. That's the starting point. You have to come at this.
Well, I think all those probably will.
Well, I don't think they could all make it.
I mean, they'll be on special teams, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But I think it's a bit more clouded, and as much as it is clouded already, I think if I had to pick, I think Marcus Lee will be clearly the one. I think Cole should be the two.
Well, not Moncrief. Moncrief will be the two. They paid for him.
Well, let me tell you what the problem is, right? So this is where I'm going to differ from what most people are saying, and this is just based on what I know. It's very difficult to move teams with two different playbooks, irrespective of how similar certain tree routes are run, because you're working with a completely different quarterback. That's the first thing. Blake Bortles is very different than Andrew Luck. We've just talked about.
Well, that I do. I can agree.
We've just talked about Andrew Luck being elite when he's on song, and
when he's fit, really.
When he's fit, and we know that's a fact. And Moncrief isn't the kind of guy who would say is. Would you I couldn't classify him as a slot receiver. I couldn't classify him as a natural X or Y player. I think he's the kind of player who can get deep, and he's got some speed to him, and I think he can do some things that are quite unique. But my problem with this is you're working with Blake Bortles, and Blake Bortles has worked best when the game has been managed around him and he's not asked to do much. And that does not fit.
They are a running team.
That does not fit Moncrief's role at all. And I'm actually quite
surprised. Why did they bring him in then?
Probably because he's a seasoned veteran, and for exactly the same reasons we just discussed. That's quite.
They've also got Alan Lazard
as
well.
That's clouded, and Lazard is very interesting. It's a clouded wide receiver core. Anything could happen here. I like.
Well, G.D. Westbrook's pretty exciting.
I like Cole for this year to shake out of the pack to be the two. I think Moncrief ends up being the three, and then the others we'll see what happens dynasty-wise in the shorter term.
Well, what's your thoughts on Shark?
Interesting player.
Longer term.
Yeah, maybe a very, very good, because this is a good defence and they're putting pieces together. So there's a lot to like about that pick. Even if year one he did nothing on your dynasty team, you might get more excited as you see the second year and other players have left and he's still there. And yeah, I mean there is something to say about him, and you don't know where that will shake out. But I do. I think it's very. To be honest,
it is.
Can we see a year one from him? Not really, I think, but we can see him make the team.
He's quite a talented receiver,
very
quite young as well.
Yeah,
so.
He's got a lot of potential.
Okay, well,
so it is interesting, isn't it? But I'm going to say that Moncrief is a player I kind of would steer away from, because I just don't see him as anything more than a third.
I look at it, and they paid a bit of money for him, so I'm thinking they got him for a reason. So he's got to have a role.
He'll have a role.
But then I do like Cole.
But do you know what I'm saying? I mean, this is my concern with it.
I don't necessarily agree.
Well, I've avoided it. That's why I haven't bothered taking the player in any dynasty leagues. It just doesn't interest me.
Okay, well, we'll finish with the Titans in this division. Okay, so let's start with the quarterback, Marcus Mariota. Step forward or step back last year?
Massive step back. Disappointing for me.
Did you not want the Mariota miracle?
Yeah, I was disappointed all year long. I had to have him in one dynasty league where all my quarterbacks, including Andrew Luck, went down injured, if you remember, and I picked him up, hoping that he would be the saviour for my team. In the end, up being terrible. Yeah, very disappointed last year. I don't think it's all his fault. The running game wasn't on song. They seemed to lose pieces everywhere. The only player that played well for them, in my view, last year is Delaney Walker, who proved once again the savvy veteran who's a fantastic
great player, isn't he?
Great player.
He's good for fantasy as well.
He's amazing for fantasy.
And he's sort of evergreen.
I'm going to say now, if you want the sneaky tight end vet for this year, it's him. I've said this for 4 years, actually. Every year I'd stick money on him. It's not because you have to get him cheap. You don't. The ADP keeps dropping, but the consistency is always there. So he'll always do you a good job, and he will always give you good tight end numbers. They won't be exceptional.
Who would you rather have, Bortles and Mariota?
I'd take Bortles over Mariota.
You would?
Yeah, I would. I'm not happy with Mariota at all. It really has worried me what happened last year.
Bortles wouldn't worry.
Well, it both worry me. I mean, you're not happy with either, but if you as a choice, I'll take Bortles because the defence is so much better, so there's more chance to score. That's what you're looking for.
Now, the backfield's very interesting. Derrick Henry, and they've obviously added Dion Lewis, who was...
This is so annoying. I was really hoping to see Derrick Henry with the lead dog role without any problems.
Did you think he'd be a great number one?
He just has everything about... There's things about him that I really like. Like, when you watch the tape on him, it's actually quite exciting at times. You feel like he's a dominant running back. There are times where you think,
I like Henry
he's
a lot.
Beast in the backfield. He's potentially got all that about him. And then there are other times I kind of am a bit put off. And that's what's happened. And now they brought in Dion Lewis, and it's like
that's what put me off.
This is so muddy now, and you have to pay a very, very high price for Derrick Henry, who could be championship player. I mean, he could give someone 2 or 3 legitimate. You know, when you've
he
got
won the Heisman as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. I mean, if you've got a team and you've got 3 starting running backs, this is what the problem is, right? So you talk about this is why running backs now being. We the other day, and I think it might be worth a little mention here. We'll try and do it in another video as well. I was on this chap's thing, Fantasy Football Life, brilliant. We'll leave a link. We'll get a link for you. So if you have a look at his channel, great channel. Not got enough subscribers. Really good guy. It's fascinating some of the things he said about some of these players and the way we were drafting on this site. And we're looking at Derrick Henry, and here's my problem, right? So he could give me a championship, but I've got to pay a massive ADP price for him right now. 2nd round ADP in any kind of league.
Dion Lewis really scares me.
And he scares me because he can dominate games. He can take over. And Tennessee,
look what he did with the Patriots last year.
And Tennessee is not a team where I'm going to go, well, you know, Derrick Henry will be able to grind out the clock and all. It just doesn't work that way with this team. I mean, Mariota just doesn't seem like he's going to take him down the field and do all that stuff. So, yeah,
would you rather own Lewis at his ADP than?
I'd rather own Dion Lewis at his ADP because I feel I'm taking less risk. I'm not having to mortgage the house on it, and
he's a talented player as well, isn't
he? You know, and anything I was going to say, if you like anything, if Derrick Henry lived up to the billing, and you've got him as one of your top, you know, if you've got 3 studs who can stay healthy for the most of the season, you are going to do well in any league. But trying to get 3 studs is looking for that lottery win. That's what you're looking for.
There's another running back they signed. I think he was an undrafted free agent actually, Akram Wadley, and he's an interesting guy to keep an eye on to see if he makes a roster because
it's a good stash. I mean, like
I really liked his highlights, but he never got drafted. So
yeah, he's a good stash player because when you're talking about a clouded, murky field like this, and Dion Lewis has had injuries as well,
right? Yeah,
and Derrick Henry. He runs upright.
If Lewis does go down, they've got to bring somebody in, and Wadley can, you know, he's a pass catcher, so he could do that.
It worries me. I mean, because the ADP is too high for Derrick Henry, that worries me a lot. That I'd rather steer because I'm.
But you like him though. You just,
I do like.
They brought Lewis in.
The problem comes, if I'm being honest, and you know, this is again the kind of situation you have, is when it comes up for your turn of picking, and the running backs that you really like have gone, but he's still on the board. It's very difficult to turn him down. It really is difficult, but you are very reluctant taking him because you are worried you're dealing with a player that's not going to live up to what you need him to do, and that's a big ask there in the 2nd round of any draft. You want good points from him, and if he can't deliver that, you're already on the back foot.
We'll briefly go through the receivers. Richard Matthews probably whether him and Davis will probably be the starters.
Yeah, I think this year we see a transition this year. I think what we're going to see is Rashid Matthews is a very consistent professional. I like him from a quarterback's perspective. He does everything right. He's not flashy. He's not the best. He's never going to be in the top ADP charts or any of that. But you're going to get him at a low ADP.
He's always a player that never really lets you down for the value you pay for.
Gets touchdowns every year. Not a huge amount.
Not exciting.
Not exciting. 6 to 8. But
solid for his ADP. You're
going to get him cheap for his ADP value, and for this year, yes, for the first half of the season, I could see him leading the Titans in terms of wide receiver numbers. But I think Corey Davis now takes a big step forward this year and ends up being the number 1.
Well, Corey Davis is going at 76.
Yeah, and that's too high for me, to be honest. And I would rather own Rashid Matthews.
And he's going at 120, so a lot later.
I'm happy with that price.
You'd be happy with it.
That price suits me. Because I'm going to get some reasonable numbers.
They got Tywin Taylor. He was a rookie last year. He showed flashes. Tajay Sharp didn't really come on much.
No, not at all. Again,
although I think he was injured, wasn't he?
Some pundits really rate him very highly, but I think he is almost bubble 53. I mean, he may not make the 53.
Michael Campanaro, he was with the Ravens before as another slot player. Exciting, but he's always injured as well.
That's the issue. They got a few
Deontay Burnett's a rookie.
There's a lot of issues there, and that's another worry, isn't it? When you're talking about Mariota, it's got to worry you, isn't it?
So the players you'd like here potentially are Dion Lewis.
Yeah.
Obviously Delaney Walker.
Yeah, he's solid.
And maybe Richard Matthews.
If there's any tight end, look at Delaney. All I'm going to say is, as a bit of fantasy homework, look at Delaney Walker's finishes over the last 8 years. Have a look at his finishes, and then you will know why I've always picked him if he's there at a certain point in the draft, because he's not going to be the top tight ends, but he's always going to be right in the heart of the leading pack following behind, and that is enough for tight end numbers to make you feel comfortable and happy.
Alright, onwards onto the AFC West and the Denver Broncos.
Exciting team.
AFC West, isn't it?
Yeah. Exciting team for this year. Where do you want to start with that?
Well, let's start with Case Keenum.
Yeah.
They needed a change of quarterback. They've got
Definitely,
it. Yeah. How do you rate him? Where are you?
I think he's another one of these that fits in the Alex Smith mould. You know, I mean, I think Case Keenum has done a good job when he's come in to earn his stripes, as they say, as a backup, and then taking over roles. He's solid. I mean, he does everything you need him to do. He takes instruction well. He's a perfect fit for that managed, coached team. The defense is still very, very strong in them. One of the best defenses in the league still. And that's what the wide receivers needed in that team. They needed a quarterback that can get the ball to them.
They got two brilliant veteran wide receivers.
Fabulous. Emmanuel Sanders and Demaris Thomas. Their ADPs are actually very reasonably cheap, actually, considering their potentials. Yes, they're both in their 30s, but for redraft leagues, these guys are great. And if you can pick one of them
They've just been crying out for a quarterback.
Yeah, that's all they need is a quarterback to shine, and both of them are both capable of a 1,000-yard season. And Demaris Thomas might, easily bounce back to some of his.
Which one's going to benefit most from?
I think Demaris Thomas benefits most because I think he's had a really shoddy time of it with quarterbacks the last couple of years. So I think this is really going to help.
Well, they both have, don't they?
Yeah, but I think particularly him because he doesn't operate out the slot, which Emmanuel Sanders tends to do if he needs to, and that always benefits you when you're dealing with a not so good quarterback who can stretch the field. I think Case Keenum has a good way of throws or arrangement. He doesn't hit all. He's not elite deep ball, but it's enough. He's accurate at what he does, and you know what? I kind of like the way he operates in and out of the pocket. You're not going to get him running first. He's a throw first quarterback. He's old school, but he's safe. And in that offense, I think a reasonably tidy year is ahead for him. And again, he's cheap. I mean, he's ADP cheap. If you need a second quarterback, he's probably one of the best of the bunch to take, to be honest.
And they've got a very exciting rookie wide receiver, Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. We mentioned this.
He looks a real talent, doesn't he?
Look, he'll go. We're not going to make any bones about it because he won't. In our leagues, we'll probably never see the price, get the price for him. But if I'm being honest, and I'd recommend this to any of you, is for those listening in. Look, if you wait to the end of the third this year with Cortland Sutton,
235.
Cortland Sutton won't get any really much work this year at all. A little bit of slot work maybe, but he won't do much this season. So his ADP will go backwards. Strike in the off season in Dynasty. Go after him, get him, because other people won't fall in love with him. But
apparently, he has been very exciting in OTAs.
He is absolutely my number one. Look, I know I've recently spoken to Anthony Miller for this year, but that's a different ballgame because this is a different thing. Cortland Sutton is the Dynasty guy. This is the guy you target in Dynasty. This is the guy you want. I love him.
He's got two good ones to get past, though, hasn't he?
Sanders
and Thomas.
Yeah, but you're not doing nothing this year.
Unless there's an injury.
Yeah, you're not doing anything this year. But longer term, forget redraft. Dynasty, great player to get. If you can nab him, wait till the end. If you've got him, great. And if you can wait and nab him up, because other people might fall out of love with him, that's fantastic.
But they also picked up another rookie, Deshaun Hamilton. I read he was one of the best route runners in the league. Yeah. So he could be interesting, but he's going to be buried for this year.
I think so.
Carlos Henderson, who was exciting last year, I think they drafted him third round maybe in the draft last year. He got injured all year, and apparently he's struggling to make the roster.
Well, they're saying he's on the bubble at the 53, and I think that's probably fair to say.
They've got a really talented bunch of receivers.
They have, but I think the three we've mentioned are the key, and I think
for this year, definitely.
Yeah, I think you look at Demaris Thomas will take a big step forward in terms of everything, and Emmanuel Sanders will be consistent, and Sutton's the stash.
Okay, tight end Jeff Hoyerman.
Yeah.
Jake Butt, who was rated highly until he got injured, and before the draft last year.
The problem. Yeah.
And they got Troy Fumagalli. They picked up as a.
I like Troy Fumagalli. I picked him up in one Dynasty league as a really interesting stash player for exactly all the reasons we've just talked about.
But long term.
But it's a longer term prospect. He won't do it this year.
Jake Butt is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think if you were taking,
I think he did his ACL, didn't he?
It's quite interesting because he'd be the player I would kind of want to stick a marker on because you're going to get him very cheap in ADP. But if you've already got a time like Delaney Walker and you thought, just need to cover that just in case anything should happen, it's a really good stab. If it doesn't work,
stab in the butt.
You'll know quick enough.
If you like that sort of thing,
but you'll know if you.
It's cheap.
It's very cheap. You'll know if it's going well because it'll get used quite quickly. You'll see the catches going up and things like that. It'll all work out for you. But you haven't lost anything in that ADP. It's a really nice.
Carl Rudolph did quite well with Keenan last year,
very well.
So maybe Butt could be the answer.
It could be. Not nice to say that very often.
They obviously picked up Bradley Chubb, who could be a difference maker on defence as well.
Yeah, very much. I mean, that looks a great defence again, doesn't it? They've been very good for a few years.
They weren't that great last year, but
well, they slipped a bit, but that could be down to a number of issues, quarterback particularly, some bad players.
They lost Ware and Talib.
Yeah.
They lost him.
Ware
didn't play last year.
It's not like you have to reach for Denver's defence, is it? Their ADP will be so low you can take them later this year, and that's ideal. That's the kind of defence I kind of wouldn't mind a stat or late in the draft. That to me, that's fine. The weather will play into your hands sometimes.
Plus the offence shouldn't be bad. Actually, we should talk about Denver's running game.
Yeah, we must.
Because you like Royce Freeman quite a lot.
Oh, hugely high. Yeah, I mean,
if literally him and Devontae Booker, you can pick them both up fairly
somebody
soon.
said to me, there was one of the comments that came through, and I apologise, never remember the name, I'm very sorry about that. It was on Twitter about, how can you say Royce Freeman's going to get there? They're already talking about other players in camp, Devontae Booker and all that. I said, well, look, this is what beat writers do. This is the point. You don't disregard the players you've already got on your team. You big them up a bit. That's what coaches do. They have to make them feel good. The truth of the matter is, this guy has to earn the job. That's what everybody will make you earn the job. You don't just come in and coast. You have to earn it. That means going out there, blood, sweat and tears, being the first in the locker room, being the last out. That's what you have to do. Now, this guy's perfect for this because I promise you now, his work ethic is unbelievable, right? So what will happen is, I'm absolutely convinced he'll win the job. And you know what? He's going to be a fantastic player there.
Well, let's look at the ADPs, and this is a consensus of expert on Fantasy Pros. Royce Freeman is 67.
Yeah, it's high, isn't it, already?
And Booker's in the 120s.
Yeah, I will take Royce Freeman. See, if Royce Freeman was there at 60-odd...
But you can cover, if you get him there, you can get Booker later.
You can cover your base later.
You've got that backfield
if you really want to. Unless you're in a small size league, I don't think you ever have to cover the players, do you?
Booker's 132 though.
Yeah.
So if you think maybe Booker will keep it, or you want or Freeman might go down,
then it's cheap.
Then you're not having to pay a price for it.
I like Freeman because I think that's a good ADP. In a number of league sizes, that's sort of round 6, round 5. I think that's fair because you're looking at a game breaker. I really like him for this year. So he's a player that would really interest me. I would quite happily take him if he was there at that ADP without hesitation. I doubt by the time we come around to drafting in redraft leagues, we'll be looking at that kind of ADP.
You think it'll rise?
It's going to rise a lot, and I think it'll be really hard to get these kind of players cheap, which is inevitable. But it's better you get it out there now and say what you like, because I've got him in Dynasty and I'm happy with that. I'm quite happy to have him. So I think he'll do a really good job for me.
All right, let's go on to the Kansas City Chiefs. There's been a bit of change.
Wow,
a lot of change here.
Another exciting team, though.
Change your quarterback.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, you're quite big on him. In fact, you're very high on him.
Well, I'm massively high on him. So again, it's good that you allow me to start there, Al, because I'm going to say it now. People are doubting him for this year, saying he's going to come in and you're not sure what you're going to get, and it's going to downgrade the players. You misinterpret what you're looking at. I've seen enough already to know they nurtured him along. They've got great savvy coaching staff, so they didn't rush the guy in, and you saw little flash in week 17 games. You got to see him up against a good defence. This wasn't a bad defence he went up against in the last game of the year. So they put him in. They didn't hold back for a weak team. They put him in against a good defence and said, show us what you can do. He scored a couple. He got picked off once. He showed he can move them down the field.
Got a big arm, isn't he?
You know what I saw? I saw a guy who wasn't afraid to go over the middle and hit some targets 30 yards down the field. And I thought to myself, and one of them, the balls he threaded in, eye-popping. And that is very, very high caliber stuff. So I've seen enough already to say, Patrick Mahomes, sleeper quarterback for this year, 100%. I own him everywhere. No surprise. I love him to bit. And I will not be surprised that this guy is a top 10 quarterback moving into 2019. And he will surprise people this year. I am convinced that he's in the perfect fit, the perfect team, and he will lift players around him, and he's a damn good leader, and he offers Kansas something they haven't had previously. Right. And that is going to make him exciting. So I really like him, hence me going after him.
Okay, they're wide receiver 1, Tyreek Hill.
Oh, number 1 tight end for this year. So on top of everything we've just said...
Number 1 what?
Number 1 tight end for this year.
No, Tyreek Hill.
Oh, Tyreek Hill. Sorry, I do apologise. I thought it's a Kelch for a minute there. Oh,
Kelsey.
Tyreek Hill,
he's going ADP of 26.
It's very high, but it's fair. I mean, he proved it last year. You got it right. Al absolutely nailed this last year. You said, I still believe that he will do what he did the first year, and he did. And now I can't say anything else. I have to go, yes, he's worth his ADP. I can't blame someone for taking him at that ADP because he was so good. Okay. So good.
We've seen enough of Hill, but not with Mahomes yet. But what about Sammy Watkins?
I think, hold on a minute, I think, Tyreek Hill with a bigger arm thrower, you've got to be more excited. I think it's exciting.
He's pretty fast, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very good. It's going to be very exciting.
Well, that's why I kind of like Kiki Kuti. He's got the same sort of speed.
Let me
and he's with
the chemistry
Deshaun
that those
Watson
two have shown
throw deep.
really interests me. So I think he's really good. And
You know,
Sammy Watkins, he's been injured a lot, but he's a great fit there. I mean, he's a savvy professional. I mean, talk about perfect for the red zone. I mean, you don't.
He's pretty quick as well, Watkins.
His ADP's being disrespected. So I mean, I've been quite happy to get him at his ADP currently. I like the situation Mahomes has got, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mahomes gives you 25 to 30 touchdowns year one and shock a few people with 4,000 yards. Wouldn't surprise me. And people will be really like, no chance. Wait and see. Let's see whether I'm right or even close to being right. And if I am close to right, this is a bargain. This quarterback, you're getting late. I think he's 130 ADP or something.
What about Watkins? Where would you...
Where's his current ADP falling at the moment? Because I think he's been a little bit disrespected.
71.
71.
So I got some information on Watkins.
I like it.
I was looking at the...
I quite like that.
The beat writer was watching their practice, and it was Mahomes to Watkins continually.
Yeah,
more so than Hill.
Well, they're building up.
And they were saying no, they couldn't stop it.
Yeah, well, you won't be able to when you got two. I mean,
they said they had like a natural chemistry.
This is what you do. You see, the coach is savvy, right? So this is what you would do. You have Sammy Watkins will play the short and underneath stuff. Tyreek Hill the burner, right?
Watkins is pretty quick as well.
Of course.
Not as quick as Hill, probably.
Of course. But what I'm saying is what you do is you've got a player who can get open, and that's what Sammy Watkins is really good. He's very, very good at this. He's always just lacked a consistent year to deliver top numbers. That's what normally happens. So he's good for the chasing pack, but never quite good enough to reach the elite numbers.
I mean, you do worry about injuries again.
He's more than capable of doing it. He's brave. And what I think will happen is that he will get open underneath. That opens up the longer game, which is where both of them are going to excel. So very excited. And then you
Kelsey will be.
Then you add in the tight end here.
I mean,
number one tight end.
He's a safety net, isn't he?
Yeah. People are saying that he won't be because it's Mahomes. Well, hang on a minute.
It does add that bit of doubt because it's a totally different play.
Even if you doubt Mahomes is going to do as well as I say, which I get, I
understand. Well, no, it just means he might play differently.
But he would have to use the tight end irrespective. You've got to. That's your release valve. And he's been brilliant.
Shall I tell you what I read about Watkins, which is interesting?
Yeah, go on.
Apparently, when he played with Jared Goff last year, he was always the fifth read.
Yeah.
So his first read would be Cooper Kupp, then it'd be Gurley, and then it would be the guy that used to play for the.
Don't worry.
What's his name? Robert Woods.
Oh, Woodsy.
He'd be third, and then the tight end would be his fourth read because he's always looking to the left.
Yeah.
He couldn't throw to the right.
No,
and then he'd only then, when them forward gone, his fifth progression. That'd be Watkins. That's why he never got used, apparently.
Well, it was a real shame. We really undervalued he used him. We paid enough money for him, but we didn't use him well enough. And you've highlighted exactly the reasons why, which we'll come on to when we talk about the Rams a bit about Goff's issues. And Goff does have some question marks. We will talk about that at later stage. But for Kansas for this year, I'm very excited for the whole team. I
so at 71, Watkins could be interested.
Well, look at it this
way. He's going around the same as Marshawn Lynch and
look at it this way, right?
Robert Woods. Actually,
I mean, I'll answer this question pretty easily. I've gone in heavy. I've got 3 running backs. We can argue whether they're great or not, but I need a wide receiver. It's fantastic at this range. It's great. There's nothing not to like about it. There is a risk with injury, but you're in a team where he's going to get thrown out a lot.
But it is a new start, and it's interesting.
And he's a pro. He's a professional.
Running backs is probably Kareem Hunt. You can't really see it being anyone else. We haven't really heard much about Ware coming back.
I'm interested. That's really good. Listen, let me put this out there.
I've set you up for this.
This is good, isn't it? It's good. So, who's the biggest risk in the first round of any draft this year? Kareem Hunt. Now, here's why. Spencer Ware was injured all of last year. And one thing about Andy Reid that is good, really good, I love him as a coach for this, he's loyal. There is no way, if Spencer Ware comes back, that he will not get opportunities to play. No way, because Andy Reid is a very loyal guy. And Spencer Ware, if he had stayed healthy, one could argue, could have had a similar year to Kareem Hunt.
He was definitely deemed to be the starter when he went down.
He was as good a catcher and as good a runner between the tackles, right? Now, we can argue over the finer details, but Spencer Ware, by all accounts, is coming back, been healthy, looking good, way ahead of schedule, which is always a good sign at this stage of the year. You're getting him at a very cheap ADP. It's worth a shot in a few leagues, actually.
So if you did pick Hunt, would you try and get Ware later?
I think you would have to cover him with Ware. You've got to cover him. And the worry would be, and I don't like doing it, I mean, in small leagues, I wouldn't bother covering. I'll take if you're going for Kareem Hunt, go in for him. But I don't like the ADP. He's high. That's very high. I mean, what is it now? 8?
Well, he's young, and, yeah.
I mean, that's a bit of a risk, isn't it? I mean, Spencer Ware was no slouch. It's not
10,
guaranteed.
He's 10.
It's not guaranteed.
Just below Beckham and Barkley.
It wouldn't make you happy, and you would be worried. And there's no guarantees.
Who do you pick, Hunt or Julio Jones?
I'm going to have to swerve from both, actually.
Thomas.
I'll take Michael Thomas. I'm not going Kareem Hunt. I'm avoiding it because I'm worried about what will happen this year. Now, for all the reasons we've highlighted about...
So if I'm picking at 11 and you're picking at 10, Hunt's still there, you're going to leave him for me, are you?
Yeah.
You're a decent chap, yeah.
Very nice. Very polite like that.
I look forward to that.
I just hope I have someone better before. But I do worry. But in some leagues, you may have to take Kareem Hunt. And if it was a big league, so it was a 16-man league, I think you've got to get Spencer Ware to cover just in case. I think that's the only time I'd ever say it's worth the value to do it. But Spencer Ware's ADP is cheap through the floor. I picked him up actually in a couple of dynasties. I just thought it was a good stash. You know, it was a shot to nothing.
I mean,
any
sort of injury.
It's not costing you a high pick to do it.
No, like you say.
I didn't have Kareem Hunt at the time, so it was worth a go.
Okay, let's move on to the Chargers. Not a lot's changed here, really. He's still Melvin Gordon #1. They picked up Justin Jackson.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler showed glimpses. He's probably #2, but Justin Jackson will be in the mix as well. He's a rookie at running back. So that seems pretty straightforward.
I mean, Melvin Gordon has been good. He's been consistent. He can run and he can catch. I think they keep his work volume at a good level.
I definitely used Eckler a bit more.
He's pretty solid. I like him. I mean, again, it's a team that interests me.
He's going at 14.
It's a team that interests me. I think their defense is very underrated. It's a team that interests me, and he's a player that I would be quite happy to get because. You know, I'm a bit more wary in dynasty because longer term value may not be quite as high as I would like, but then beggars can't be choosers. But in redraft, I have no problem taking him because I think he's very solid.
Okay, well they lost Hunter Henry at tight end, big blow. It's always a shame to see young players.
They had no luck at all actually. As a team, I think they've been a bit cursed actually with injuries. They've been very unlucky, and he looked really good and poised.
Well, they lost Mike Williams to injury last year.
Yeah,
it's an exciting receiver.
Very tough for them, and. They haven't had much luck, and you do worry about those injuries because it seems to be a curse with some teams. They seem to dog them for it.
And who did they reach out to today? Antonio Gates. Coming back.
I did hear at 38 there was a chance.
It's more official now.
Well,
it looks like it's going to happen. Would you be on? He's a touchdown machine.
Well, the thing is late in a draft for literally no ADP, you get a tight end like him over a muddy tight end backfield, which we previously talked about.
I mean, he's got the relationship with Rivers.
It's nothing to lose. At that stage, he could be a very sensible second tight end.
There's everything to lose.
Well, not late. I mean, he's got no. There's no risk there, is there?
No. He's very cheap.
Very cheap player to get, and he is consistently good. But I think we saw the slowdown. If I'm being honest, I mean, he got his record, which is what he was hanging around for, and then he retired. Really?
Well, he didn't.
Well, theoretically.
He's back.
Yeah.
He's still playing. He's in.
I can't see a lot there, but he's so cheap, who cares?
Are the gates open or closed for you?
Late, if I needed the tight
one
end.
One of them's open.
Yeah.
If
I needed a late tight end, it's redraft, it's not PPR and all that stuff, then yeah, I'd take a flyer on him. But other than that, no. I think the best days are behind him by a long way now.
That seems fair. Right, okay. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Keenan Allen had a big step forward last year. He's ADP 17 now.
He really frustrates me though because he's a great one to talk about again for this year. Every time I've dared take a risk with him, he got injured. Every time I haven't taken a risk with him, he stayed healthy. I'm avoiding.
No, take him.
I can't take him.
I want to see
and
it.
at 17,
I want you to take him.
There's no way.
You can't think like that.
I'm not taking him.
Go on.
I'm not taking him. Sorry, but I totally get it if people think he's worth it at 17. But look at
he's a clear number one, I think, on that team.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. But
you got Terrell Williams. You got Mike Williams, who didn't really play much last year.
Yeah.
Travis Benjamin, he turns up and catches a 60-yard bomb every sort
now
of
and again,
6 weeks.
And now and again, only when he's playing me, I've noticed. Yeah. When one of my fantasy teams is playing against somebody who's slotted him in, he has a big win.
There's nothing more annoying than losing to a Travis Benjamin 80-yard bomb.
It does happen, and it has happened, yeah. So,
they signed the rookie Dylan Cantrell. He could be future, probably not for this year though. What do you think of Mike Williams? Because he's We haven't seen anything of him.
Well, obviously he's a savvy professional. I mean, you know, he's cheap, isn't he? I mean, his ADP's really late, and
well, we don't know if we haven't seen anything of him yet. So
no. Well, I mean, if he plays, if assuming everything goes okay, there's no injuries, really nagging injuries, he plays. He's
his
solid.
ADP's 171.
That's
not
cheap.
It's not too bad, is it?
No, it's very good. I mean, because look, he must be the number 2 there. Could be the number 1. I mean, it's that kind of team. And if Keenan Allen goes down, Mike Williams got all the work. It's cheap. I like him at that ADP. How can I not pick him up and put him in any team?
Well,
I've got him in a couple of.
He's going around Samaje Perine,
Yeah.
who's not going to be the starter for Washington.
No.
He's not going to be the third down back.
No, true.
He's literally, if someone goes down, if Guice goes down, he'll play.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Paul Richardson, he's going to catch the odd bomb from Russell Wilson, but you know, why not? He could do all right, couldn't he?
I think he could be fine. I would have no problems taking him, and I have done in a couple of teams. Not because obviously the age is against him. He's a real veteran now, but it's a 1-year thing.
Take Keenan Allen. You know you want him.
I don't. Not at 17. I'll be honest. I'm more looking at running backs rather than Keenan Allen.
Well, if I'll leave him till 18 if I'm picking just before you.
Why don't you take him instead of Kareem Hunt? Have him.
No, well, no. You leaving Kareem Hunt? I'll leave you. I'll leave you Keenan Allen.
Yeah. I'm swerving.
Okay, let's round it off with the Oakland Raiders.
Very
Gruden is
big step back last year.
Gruden is doing some weird things.
Okay, well,
real old school, back to 90s.
Okay, the problem is right. So when Gruden won the Super Bowl as a coach for Tampa Bay, I think he was the right coach with the right mindset at the right time, and he had the right players around him.
But he still thinks that's going to work. That old school approach.
That methodology doesn't translate particularly well to the modern game of NFL. I think the game has moved on. Now, as much as he's still very young, I think he's been too in the broadcast booth to.
You know why I don't? You get these sort of people that are like, they're really black and white. They hate certain people and they like certain people. They'll back them to the hilt.
Yeah.
You know, the first thing they did was get rid of the punter. He was like a legend there.
It was fabulous there. I mean,
it's
very rare. I will watch a punter kick a ball and actually
Marquette King. I mean, he was good.
I mean, it's exciting to watch him, and he was bloody proud of blocking as well and tackling people.
Why did they get rid of him?
I don't know. I mean, I really
first bloke out.
The only time I've ever seen a punter, I actually want to see him. You know, if he continued with his career the way he is as a punter, he might make the Hall of Fame. I mean, he's that interesting. I mean, you wouldn't really say that very often. No, it's a shame. To be honest with you.
Let's look at the running backs. You got Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah.
Probably past his best. Elite in his time. Is he still valuable?
Yes, because it's a murky backfield. I mean, last year I didn't like Marshawn Lynch for last year, but he wasn't bad. He just wasn't excitingly good. He was kind of okay, but you were paying
But he wasn't like the Marshawn Lynch.
No, it wasn't the Marshawn Lynch you were buying. You know, let's be honest. He wasn't the dominant force is what people were buying, and they were paying an ADP price quite high for him. This year's ADP is still reasonably high for me, and you've muddied it with Doug Martin. And the problem I have is that Gruden likes Doug Martin.
And he's bought. That's what I'm saying about him. He put Doug Martin in. You can see him just.
And I'm not like that. You know, unfortunately, I've kind of got Doug Martin in one dynasty league. It's that kind of like you've got no choice. It's kind of he's so.
Well, that was your choice. You picked him.
I picked him when I thought
before
he might have it was a shot to nothing late in an ADP, so you take that shot, and then a year later you've still got him because no one will buy him. You know, or if they are offering you anything, you think it's better to hold him, and that has proved the case. It is worth holding him. The problem is, can I sit here and say, do I believe in Doug Martin for this year? And the answer is no, I don't. Could he be brilliant? Yes, he could. Of course he could, because if he gets given 200 plus carries, of course he could. But I worry about the injury risk with Doug Martin, and you know, I think the muscle hamster is literally running out of fur and everything.
He's gonna catch the passes.
I really don't know because your best player left town. I mean,
you got Jalen Richard, and you've got DeAndre Washington. They can both catch it. They're apparently fighting for one roster spot.
Yeah,
with DeAndre Washington said to be the favourite at this point.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say that he probably will.
But they're not. Yeah, I mean.
But I'm worried because the player that you are looking to carry your team right now is the player that doesn't seem to have that ability, which is Cooper. I'm not seeing enough from Cooper.
Apparently, he did say Cooper was going to be the focal point of the offense.
We sort of heard this all before from other.
But you would say that if you've got Marshawn Lynch and Doug Martin.
Focal point on offense has to be able to catch the ball. Focal point has to be able to carry the team on his back. He does do it at times, and he showed that last year with one amazing fantasy game.
Yeah.
But if you take that out of the mix and go
back to what
he was producing. If you just said, I'll give him 4 extra fantasy points for a good week. For him, a good week at that point was 7 or 8 points. That was a good week. He suddenly gets nearly 40.
It was 40, I think, 42. I remember.
His actual fantasy value is massively inflated because of that game. And I can't trust the guy. I've been a big fan of his. But fantasy-wise now, I've got to say I'm off.
Didn't really kick on last year.
Yeah, no, I'm off. And for loads of reasons. Phil changed his coaching staff, what he did last year. I wasn't buying into him last year because of what he did the previous year. I'm certainly not buying into him.
What about Jordy Nelson?
Probably the pick of the bunch. Professional.
Well, Davis Bryant.
Yeah, got a chance. I mean, look,
again, he's a guy that Gruden got. Went out and got him.
Jordy Nelson, he's brilliant. Right? Okay, maybe he has lost a step. Maybe he isn't quite the player he was. But he could do a Crabtree role quite comfortably. And Carr can operate with veterans very well.
What do you think of Carr?
So difficult. I can't blame him for half the problems. I mean, that's the issue I've got. I mean, I can't blame Carr with what's going on with some of the stuff going on behind the scenes here. And I do think Carr's got potential to be a very, very good quarterback in this league.
Well, I think so.
And this has just been very unfortunate circumstances, and probably that's affected his ADP. And you know what? He's a great late second-tier quarterback that's got the potential to do better than his ADP value.
I like him a lot.
I like him for this year.
I like him a lot as well.
You know,
at that value.
Yeah, value's fantastic for this year.
Seth Roberts looks like it.
And I'll tell you, it's Bryant is again. I know he's an enigma. And he's really frustrating, and I know that he's not a player I'm going to recommend much in Dynasty really.
But he's got the skills, hasn't he?
His off-field trouble is a big issue.
It's not mental with him.
Yeah, but the potential here in this offense for this season is very high for Martavis Bryant because you're not expecting anything, you're not paying much for him. His ADP is ridiculous; it's through the floor, it's so cheap. But the potential is seriously there, so I quite like him. I think he's a good stash player. If you've got running back heavy, Martavis Bryant, not a bad one to target, is it? Later.
One of the notes I read was Gruden saying about Jared Cook didn't believe how well he moved.
Yeah.
Don't know what that means. Does it mean he's going to use him more? I don't know. Maybe he's just talking up one of his players.
Yeah.
No, he wants him to move on.
But yeah, I mean, he is a good tight end. I think everybody knows Jared Cook has flashed.
He is quick. His hands aren't great.
The problem is
drops a lot of catches.
Yes, and the thing is where he has. I mean, he's worked with Green Bay. He worked with one of the best players in the league, and you can't stand out as anything more than okay. I'm not buying into Jared Cook in there, not with that offense, and not with the way that defense looks. I'm not happy. If I'm an Oakland Raiders fan, I'm worried that they could take another step backwards. It would concern me a lot for this year. There are some nice pieces, and there could be some nice fantasy pieces there. You get them at the rock because there's some cheap ones. So I don't mind cheap in fantasy.
So tell me which players you'd be a buyer of in this.
I'd look at Jordy Nelson at the right ADP. It's got to be the right ADP, but certainly cheap enough. If I've got a certain route down the draft, he's solid, he's safe, he's the Crabtree role. I like that, and he's good.
He's going in the lowest point he would have done for years.
So I'm okay with that. But
98.
That's cheap enough in a zero.
Wide receiver 40.
A zero wide receiver draft. You're looking at any players that can do it for you. You don't have to be that excited with a huge upside. He's solid enough that it could be good enough.
Who would you rather have him or Robbie Anderson?
I'd take Robbie Anderson
because he's going one there.
Yeah, I'd take Robbie Anderson.
Devontae Parker?
I'd definitely still carry on taking this guy, Jordy Nelson over Devontae Parker. I just can't trust him.
You'd have Robbie Anderson above the boat.
Definitely.
Sterling Shepard's in there.
Yeah, because no, definitely not. Sterling Shepard, no chance.
Right?
No chance.
Why not?
Not in that offense, not now. No.
Because they got other bigger fish now.
Bigger fish.
Beckham and Barker.
Oh, too big. Yeah.
B&B.
Yeah, perfect.
Put you to sleep.
Yeah, put him to sleep. He hasn't done enough, and he won't do much there. Big downtick for him this year. Right, that's about the right ADP, and I'm not buying any shares in him. So you'll know I'll swerve on him all day.
Okay, well that concludes our look at the AFC. We'll be looking at the NFC next week. We'll start looking at them. Okay, and if you're still watching, thanks very much for that. You've got a couple of questions you want to answer, haven't you?
Well, I've got one. Have you got a question you want to answer as well? We were asked a great question actually regarding about how do you get the players you really cover and target. Well, the first problem is you don't know when most leagues you don't know when you're going to draft, so you can't really plan for it. That's the essence, I think, a hallmark of a good league actually, that you don't have time to plan. You have to turn up, particularly in redraft. You find out your draft spot, and you just have to roll with the punches. And what that means is you've got to have prepared. So if you haven't prepared, it's much harder to really understand where players are likely to fall. And you've also got to account, which is often the case, when a league's new, it's very difficult to know what people's knowledge is like, but when a league is a little established, like some of the leagues we're now involved in together, people's knowledge has climbed dramatically. And so what happens is, which is happening in redraft leagues generally across the board, is running backs are the position of there aren't many great ones.
Yeah, scarcity.
The scarcity is so high, so they go off the board. Now, the other night when I was drafting with this particular chap from his channel, I'll try and bring that back up while I talk to you. If I can find it, if I can't,
Fantasy Football Live.
That's it. Thank you, Ralph. Fantasy Football Live. The running backs were ridiculous on their ADP. I mean, it just wouldn't happen in our league. And to give you an example of this, last year, if memory serves me right, this won't be a million miles off. I think we saw something like 24 out of 32 were running backs.
I think you've got to qualify that with the we play in a 60-man league.
60-man league. So that would
to get two running backs at play is difficult.
Very difficult, and there's a reason for that, because you don't want an opponent, and this is what forces the market value, to have that edge, because it is a big
you can never trade for one either, because everyone wants them.
It's so hard to get, so you kind of have to go in, but that's easier said than done, because obviously depending on where you're landing, where your drafting spot is, how do you pass up a DeAndre Hopkins over which running back, or which one do you take? And if you don't take a running back, so let's say you take DeAndre Hopkins at, call it 7 for argument's sake, your odds on the rebound of finding any kind of running back, you're not going to get a Derrick Henry, you're not going to get, probably not even going to get a Mixon, you're probably not even going to get...
You would in round 2.
Maybe.
Probably.
I think his value will still climb. So I'm going to be honest, I think for our league, I think he may be gone.
In ours it will.
It will be gone. In your league, maybe it will be
ours is ridiculous for running back.
So it is really difficult. And then you're looking at, what do I do next? And it's much easier to stick on the wide receiver bandwagon at that point than it is to take a running back because you're not sure. That's the problem with targeting. So draft spot is very important, practice is very important, but more important than any of that is have your own belief system. And I think anybody, like we do, and I think anybody should out there, if you've got a belief in somebody, so no matter what anybody says, me or anybody else, and you think that is the guy, that's the player I want, do not be put off by the ADP values. Don't be afraid to
go too mad.
Don't go crazy. A round is fine.
If you don't think they'll get back to you, then
a round is fine.
Yeah.
2 rounds is starting to get a bit crazy for me. 3 is ridiculous. But I get it if, like in our league, a number of these rookie running backs are unlikely to be there beyond round 3. That's a fact because of the way people draft. So we're not going to see the Royce Freeman slip beyond round 3. Now, I don't know where in round 3 he'll go by the time the season starts.
Yeah, depends.
But he will probably go. The same with the Sonny Michel, same with the Rashard Penny. All those guys will be gone. But if you have to get him in round 3, 301, 302, I get it. If that's what you need to do, you believe in that guy, then you go after them because they're league winners. They have potential to take your team up. So that's the first thing. The other thing is you have to practice what you preach. So the idea is if you end up running back heavy, what wide receivers are you going to target later? Who are you going after? If you're going wide receiver heavy, what running backs are you targeting? Now, in later videos, as we get close to the season, we will start releasing our top 12. Now, we talked about some of these players. Some of them might slip onto that top 12 list. But let me tell you something. I have some sneaky running backs that are not inside those first few rounds that I believe are the kind of players I would target.
Spencer Ware, you told me.
Well,
he's
late. He's one you can pick up.
Yeah.
You don't have to target. He's a late round fly. You don't need to spend any stock on it. The stock is any early players. And this is a good question because when we talk about stock, depending on league size, you have to work out when stock value starts running out. So if you're talking about a 16-man league, almost beyond round 7 and 8 is when you start having you really see a dip in the field quality so dramatic that if you've taken anything else other than running backs, wide receivers, that's one less player that you've got for your bench. Now, if you've got Aaron Rodgers, that's one thing. If you've got Deshaun Watson, that could be great, but it might not be. And now you've lost another player as well. So you have to really weigh up what you're targeting, when and where. That's the essence of the question, and that's what I'm trying to allude at. Never be afraid.
I think I'd add another thing in our leagues where we've drafted together a lot.
Yeah.
And everyone has their favourite players.
Yeah.
So you can pretty much look and see, is this player going to get back to me? This sort of player, he's still there, likely to go. So you got more idea of whether the player you actually really want will get back to you on the next round. It depends how many picks are in between you. Because if you pick at the end of a round, and I know you've got a quarterback, and say I need a quarterback, I know I can wait for my second pick for the quarterback.
You'll know, like most people will have. I think it's quite interesting. This is why it's a great question. It's one to finish on. That's brilliant. What Al's saying is spot on, but there's a kind of an interesting caveat even on that. So for me, I think it's very difficult to actually say, pin me down to exactly what I'm going to do year by year. But there is a change to that.
But there are certain people
there are certain people you can do that with, and there are certain clever rules to use. So if you know, like, if I'm in a situation where I'm lucky enough to be able to have gone heavy running back early, it's not going to surprise people that I keep picking them. Right, so don't be surprised. Round 3, another one. Round 4, another one. Round 5, another one. Don't be surprised by that, because as crazy as that sounds, this is a scarcity position. If I know what I'm doing and I get it right, and last year I tried something out and it was I had 4 running backs off the bounce in a large league and it didn't work. But I think everybody was caught off guard and it changed the field a lot. And I know if a bit of luck had fallen, that strategy would have been okay. But one thing's for sure, if the field is there, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to deviate. However, I'm completely ready if I need to switch the other way. I'm ready to do it, because I know I've tried out both things, and I'm lucky enough to have experimented with this league and tried things out which may be crazy, but there's a reason for that, because now I understand the field and I understand the competition, and I now know what I need to do to push them, and I've got to keep doing that.
Okay, interesting stuff. Dan asks, is there a guy, because of his ADP, that you won't be drafting this year?
We've talked on a few of them actually today in the podcast. Actually, Kareem Hunt I won't touch. Keenan Allen I won't touch because they're ADPs ever. You won't see anybody, and you'll notice this already in dynasty leagues. Anybody that's drafted with me will know none of those players are on my teams, and there has been opportunity for them to be on there, and I haven't taken them. There's not much I can say. I mean, there are quite a few players that I swerve every single year. Like this year, another good example would be Gronk. Now, last year I was all over him. This year, I don't really want to touch him because I'm concerned about the injury crisis hitting again with New England. I don't like the off-season rumbles with New England. There are a few things that get the old red flags running. And he's great. We all know he's great when he plays. But for me, it's too rich, too high. I can't pay that price. So I'm always aware, and I think Al must be the same. I think a lot of good drafters are. You will have certain biases every year, but I'm not frightened one year to go this way because I believe that that's the year they'll be okay, and equally the next year say actually I'm avoiding. And I think you've got to be able to do that, and it's really important because nothing always runs the same every year. If it was that easy, we'd all be picking Gurley this year.
But that's the fun of it, isn't
it? It's the great fun of the game.
Right. Okay. I think we've probably covered quite a lot. We've been rabbiting on for a while. So thank you very much if you stayed to the end.
I hope so. And we'll see you next
if you like what you've heard, give us a subscribe.
Please do. And do check out the other chat, Fantasy Life, the fantastic
Fantasy Football Life. Yeah,
been really good.
Okay, thanks very much for watching.
Thank you.